House Bill 492, an act relating to child welfare. Representative Meade.
Gentleman from McCracken.
Mr. Speaker, I yield to the gentleman from Lincoln 80 for explanation of the bill and motion thereon.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Lincoln for explanation of the bill and a motion thereon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask the clerk to report House Committee Substitute 1.
Clerk, please report.
House Committee Substitute 1 to House Bill 492.
Gentleman from Lincoln.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In this committee substitute, what we are doing is Section 1 establishes a requirement that ensures separate counsel is available to advise a Cabinet for Health and Family Services employee that is in court anytime that employee is required to be in court. This actually just gives the court the option of requesting that counsel for them. They do not have to give that to them, but the court can at least make that request. Section 2 establishes custodial permanency and service options available to relative and fictive kin caregivers. Several years ago in House Bill 1, we passed that the Cabinet must make fictive and relative kin caregivers aware of what is out there and available to them when they take a child. This just says you've got to make it more prevalent, put this in a packet, give that to them separate so they can see that, because right now all that information is getting jumbled up in the big packet that is given to them when they first accept a child. It also says that the Cabinet must give an electronic debit card to the fictive kin or relative kin caregiver at the time they place that child. Every child is available for that $350. Right now, though, they have to sign off for that. Many families or many relative caregivers don't realize that they're available to do that. So this just says the Cabinet will give that to them when they first pick up that child to meet that child's needs, whether that's clothing, food, whatever it may be. Section 3 clarifies that all components of a foster parent's approval are effective for 3 years for reevaluation. We did this several years ago also in a bill saying that we wanted that every 3 years. That has not happened completely. Only certain portions of their reevaluation has happened every 3 years. And so we're making it very clear that what we meant is for a 3-year reevaluation. Many states are doing this, and what this does is it just takes a burden off some of those foster parents that we are having such a hard time keeping and finding to take care of these children. Section 4 establishes requirements related to when a child has been in the foster family for a period of 9 months, that foster family will be the first considered for permanent adoption placement. What we're doing here is saying that at the beginning of that 9-month period, or whenever that period is that they're put in care, that the Cabinet must start the relative search right then. They would have 3 months to complete that relative search at that time period. After that, if that child has been in care for 9 months, then the foster family, if the goal is changed to adoption, would have the first option of adopting that child. That's where you hear stories of people have gotten a child at birth or have had them for a long time in their care. This may be the only family that child has ever known. And then as it comes around time for that child to be adopted, then all of a sudden a family member pops up. Well, we're saying do your relative search at the beginning of this so those families can prepare as they move through the process. Section 5, this says that a foster parent can be a party to a court case that is in termination of parental rights. We put this in law several years ago as well. However, all we're doing going in and amending that a little bit to say it has to be a child that's been in your care for at least 6 months before you're a party there in that court case. And then it also it says that if you have had that child in your home within the last 6 months, but you had them for at least 6 months, then you could be a party to that as well to voice some of your concerns for that child and that child's needs. Section 6 is a new portion that was not in the bill that we had last year, and this just says that the Attorney General will be the person that will have oversight, if they so choose, of the Office of Ombudsman for administrative review within the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. The reason we're doing this is we started doing House Bill 1 several years ago. The biggest thing that came up was the Ombudsman really needs to be out of that Cabinet because the Secretary hires the Ombudsman, or they answer to the Secretary, and we need them out of that Cabinet. 2 years ago, we moved them to say that they would answer to the Inspector General. That still has not reached the goal that we're needing, and I think that we were overthinking it as we went through the process. When we wanted to move it to the Attorney General's office a few years ago, the Attorney General at the time said it's pretty costly to do that. You'd have to move everything in the budget as well. We'd have to be able to hire some folks, so it was a difficult task. And I think, as I said, we were overthinking that, and all this does is says that now the Attorney General, everything will stay the same, but the Attorney General has the authority to go in and have a little bit of oversight in that situation. So that's what the committee sub does, Mr. Speaker, and with that, I would move for adoption of the committee sub.
Motion is for the adoption of House Committee Substitute 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by voting aye. Those opposed, nay. House Committee Substitute 1 is adopted. Gentleman from Lincoln.
Mr. Speaker, I would move for passage of House Bill 492 as amended by House Committee Substitute 1.